Welcome to the Coach's Corner. I'm Phil Huffman. I've got Nate Lambert, Coach Kaz Einel, and Coach John Reedaboo.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Well, we had last night's first sectional round. Nate, take her away.
Yeah, we took the long trip down to Logansport, Coach. Take us back to the first quarter here. It was kind of odd. Did they win the toss? They didn't really tell us that at the beginning, but they elected to receive.
No.
I
won the toss.
Oh,
and I
okay.
deferred to the second half, and so that means typically the other team receives, and we get the ball first thing in the second half.
Now, why'd you do that?
Why did I defer? Always. You're kind of when you come out in the second half, you kind of have your adjustments in the flow of the game, and so rather than take the ball first part of the game, usually you judge it off your team. If you got a high-powered offense, you want the ball. If you have a really good defense, then in this situation last night, the wind was blowing pretty hard, and I figured it would probably calm down as the night went on. So I wanted to take advantage of that on the kickoff, and then also they'd have to throw into the wind, so that played the part in it. Otherwise, I was going to take the ball, but with the wind blowing as hard as it was, I decided to defer, and that's typically I often defer. Most coaches do, so they get the ball first thing in the second half. Yeah.
That was just interesting. Like he said, we couldn't see, and all of a sudden, when bolts start lining up, I was okay. We're kicking off.
They waited a long time, and I've never seen the kids so far apart. I think they had them like 10 yards apart when they were signaling.
Yeah. Talk about that. We talk about that.
I have no idea why they were so far apart. But
I thought maybe he had his speakerphone on or something.
No.
So you kick off. They get a decent return, but not anything special.
No, actually, we did a pretty good job pinning them at the 16-yard line. Timmy put it where it was supposed to be in the hole. Thought he was going to kick it through the end zone, but he didn't quite get all of it. But it was plenty high enough, and it was in the hole of where their kickoff return was lined up, and so that gave our coverage team a chance to get down there, and they did a nice job and pinned them inside the 20, which is where the ball would go if on a touchback. So they got the ball at the 16-yard line, and so that was a good start.
Well, I was just and when you came out in that first quarter, Nate and I both were pretty excited because, it was 6-0 at the end of that first quarter. You did a good job. Ortiz, I thought, did a great job running the ball for Logansport, but I thought you did a great job on defense in that first possession, and they missed the extra point.
Well, that first drive, unfortunately, was a 7-minute drive. And, pounding here, pounding there. We thought we had a good stop. We had them 3rd and long, and then they had a timely screen that went for a big play. We also were adjusting. Noticed in warm-ups they were doing a lot of shifting, trading from one side to another. And we had an issue with that the first couple plays, and I had to call a timeout, so our guys got situated, but they were still able to take advantage of that. We had to make some adjustments at halftime because they were definitely exploiting our weak side. The guy's a Hall of Fame coach. He's seen it all, and he came out with a good game plan. And they were able to drive the ball down the field and score, but as you said, they missed the extra point, and so it's only 6-0. And we receive the kickoff. We have a penalty on our kickoff return, and so we're backed up to the 10. And we have a big play, Shoemaker to Donovan Blair, and he breaks a couple tackles, looking like Gronk going down the field.
Threw some guys off.
And that was exciting. And, we got the ball down to the 36, and our drive stalled. Turnover on downs. Just weren't quite clicking. Despite the big play, just weren't quite clicking on all cylinders. They ran a couple offensive plays, and boom, that's the end of the first quarter.
Yeah.
So, they have a long drive for a score. We have a drive and turn the ball over on downs, and they'd run a couple plays, and that's the end of the first quarter. That went fast.
Yeah, very fast.
It was 6-0 too. I mean,
Yes.
that was he and I talked about that. I said, hey, this is going to be a good game. And again, I thought, and Nate was saying too, that it was pretty even as far as your defense and their offense and running the ball. And we were pretty excited about, hey, this might be a good win for what we see.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely weren't down at any point at 6-0 at the end of the first quarter. But then we go into the second quarter. And they resumed their drive, and they were able to pound it down the field and score. Various running plays, belly, toss, dive, a lot of misdirection. And unfortunately, we were ball watchers, and instead of reading our keys, we were following the motion and, got caught position. Even a half a step out of position gives the other team a good angle for a block. And so they were able to drive it down, and they went for 2 and got it, and that made it 14-0. Shortly into the second quarter, although that drive took up some time.
Yeah, so, and that's one thing that we were talking about during the game was, hey, it may not be that one offense is better than the other, one defense is better than the other. It's already getting to the point where we're talking about time in the second quarter because of how much time is coming off each drive.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, we're I think at least 2 or 3 minutes into the second quarter, and Wallasey's setting to take their second possession of the night.
Exactly. So one possession in the first quarter, and we're well into the second quarter, and we get our second possession. So that that's what you want to do against high-powered offenses, but the best defense is to keep them off the field.
Yeah.
And so that's tough. So we received the kickoff. They kick it out of bounds. We hit it to 35, and we run a couple plays, and we got Donovan again open over the middle. Most likely a first down, especially after the last run. I think he was a couple yards short, but after the catch, I'm sure he would have picked it up. Went off his hands and went into their hands. So they get a pick on our second possession, and didn't take them long. They had a long TD pass. We were rolling our safety over for the toss, and our other safety wasn't deep enough, and didn't pick up the tight end streaking down the seam, and they got a long tight end TD pass and kicked the extra point to make it 21-0 at that point. That's when we had to kind of circle the wagons. 21-0 all of a sudden. And we've had two possessions.
That's the other thing we talked about.
I mean, 2 possessions, and we had a turnover, and they turned that into a score, and so that's when we got to bear down if we're going to stay in this ball game.
Well, and that too, you were talking about the shifting earlier. That whole shift was designed. I mean, you talked about having to call a timeout and make those adjustments. It kind of seems like that was kind of probably their progression of, hey, let's get them rolling a safety over to kind of help out in that run and see if we can get something up the seam, because it seemed like they set that play up a little bit. They kind of ran toss, and then all of a sudden they faked that toss and froze right there before they threw the ball.
Well, the shift, good thing I noticed it, because the way they shift, they suddenly jerk and move.
Yeah.
And so I noticed it in pregame. So we were able to alert our defensive line. We did not jump off sides.
Yes.
And we were aware of that and knew that was coming, and I'm sure that would have probably got us at least once or twice. As far as the rolling the safeties, we didn't decide to do that until after the second score, because they were getting so much off the toss. We thought we would do that, and the first play that we did that, they ran a vertical route and caught us in that. And really, it was more a matter of the safety dropping to where he's supposed to be than trying to catch us in rolling the safeties. That's what misdirection teams do. Flex bone or wing T, they get you going side to side to side, trying to guess where the ball is, and all of a sudden they spring somebody down the field, and a lot of times they're wide open. If you're a ball watcher, if you don't watch your keys and you don't watch the linemen, they have a very distinct way they come off the ball when it's a run play, and they have a very distinct way of backing up or standing up when it's a pass play. And so we we struggled with reading that and reading our keys there in the first half. And so, like I said, it was 21-0, and we had the ball twice, and we turned it over on one of them. So that made it tough. They kick off. It's a touchback, but they had a penalty, one of many penalties they had on the evening.
Over
I think the refs definitely made their money last night with the flags.
You know what? They
tell
did.
Me about that.
They did, but I mean, there's a lot of plays they didn't call.
Well, and I'm sure, but
we had a roughing the holder that was never called. You can't clean out the holder on an extra point. We had a punt where they hit the snapper, the long snapper. You're not allowed to do that. And there were several other plays where it was pretty obvious. But, Logansport was able to play through that. But I think it was like 11 penalties for like 160 yards or something crazy like that. I'm not sure. I know we had 2 penalties, and I think they were both on kickoff return. I can't recall too many other penalties on us. But – there's a lot of personal fouls and unsportsmanlike conducts and things like that on them.
Yeah, talk about that just for a sec. I mean, I don't want you to dwell on it, but I was really surprised that a team with that kind of a record, especially with that Mike Johnson, their head coach, we've never seen that kind of stuff at Wawasee.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really speak to that too much. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame coach, and he's got a good team.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 8-2 right now, and they execute their offense pretty well, and they run to the ball really well on defense, and special teams wise, there's not any glaring weaknesses. So they're pretty solid all around. I think they're a passionate group of kids. You could see them getting on each other.
That's a good way to put it.
Where a lot of teams, they would disintegrate, when the players start getting after each other. And it didn't really seem to affect their execution. And unfortunately for us, it seems like every time we got a big penalty on them, they would get a big play and get it right back. One step forward, 2 steps back, kind of deal. And we struggled with that all night long. We'd get them in tough situations, and they'd come up with a big play.
And Johnson talked about that in his post-game interview, saying that, hey, we've got to clean that up if they're going to be successful next week.
And one thing, too, is it's sectionals. There's so much more energy in the game, especially for your seniors, and they're a little bit more riled up, so they're going to get, all their teammates riled up. And I think that, too, was on display on both sides. There was times where, it was not necessarily dogging your teammate, but, coming over and slapping him on the back of the head and saying, hey, you got to figure this out. We got to keep going.
They reacted well to that. I mean, they didn't, like I said, they didn't disintegrate. They executed their offense well after that, or their defense well after that. So it must be something that they're used to, getting on each other. But, yeah. I mean, that was definitely a part of the game, the penalties, and unfortunately we weren't able to take as good advantage of it as we would have liked to. It was kind of an interesting end to the half, of course, So we get the ball. It's a touchback. It's a penalty on them, so we get the ball at the 35, and we have a big run. Tinky gets the ball on a wide play, and, we get down to the 40, their 40, and then we have a turnover on downs. And they have, I want to say it's like a minute 20, and they were able to drive down into field goal range. And we were able to get good pressure and block the field goal at halftime. So keeping it at 21-0. And again, we're going to make adjustments at halftime. We're going to take a look at a couple things and feel fortunate to be 21-0. We've had 3 possessions in the first half. That's it. And one of them was a pick off our hands, unfortunate kind of thing. And so we're still not feeling terrible about it. We get a score, we're right back in it.
We're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, we'll continue talking about the game last night. So you're listening to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. Second segment, we're going to talk about the second half of the football game.
Yeah, Coach. So one of Kaz's famous questions here, and thing that he says every week on the air, is if he could be in that locker room at
Oh
halftime.
yeah.
So you go in, you're down 21-0. You've had some bad breaks, but you've also blocked a kick now. You have a little bit of momentum. You get the ball first, and you've only had 3 offensive possessions. What do you tell your team?
Well, first of all, that's why you defer to the second half because, we had, 3 possessions in the whole first half, and one of them was an unfortunate turnover. And so, it's hard to be productive every single time down the field, and you only get 3 opportunities. That's tough. So we had talked about some adjustments going in, and we were very busy at halftime, very busy because we had some defensive adjustments, we had some offensive adjustments, and you got to keep the team up and keep fighting and keep focusing on what's important. And we talked about coming out in the second half, and hey, we're all right. We just need to get a score on the board and get things rolling. And we made some defensive adjustments as I talked before. They were exploiting our weak side, and we made some adjustments, made some difference, definitely in the second half. And then offensively, we went to our T formation, and started pounding the ball down, right down their throat. Try to get physical and run downhill a little bit more. We were having a hard time getting time for our quarterback to get the ball off, and we just weren't quite clicking right the other way. And so we went back to our old faithful, the T formation, and just get after it and pin your ears back and come off the ball. And that worked out pretty well for us.
It definitely caught him off guard.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we were talking about that on there a lot. I mean, oh my gosh, there's our T formation back, and the kids did a great job of executing it.
Yeah. It hasn't gone away. It's just something that with some of the injuries we've had. I mean, we went into the game without David Anderson. David is our starting linebacker captain. Played most of the season on O-line when somebody was hurt or sick or whatever. And just a spiritual leader of the team.
And kind of a glue guy, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a wonderful kid, and we had him on the program last week. And then Nico Ramirez, he's our biggest player, big kid at left tackle and also defensive line rotation. And so those were some severe losses. And of course, earlier in the season, you got Jackson Brown with the knee injury, and Landon Alexander recently has a pulled groin that has limited him. And so, we got some kids on the shelf and some kids that, we can't afford to lose too many of those and still be effective. But kids rallied, and some kids stepped up. A kid comes to mind is Peyton Sewell in the linebacker position. Undersized, but
had a couple good sticks last night too.
Yeah, he's a feisty dude, and he gets after it, and just love his passion and the way he plays the game. So he's had to step up. We've done some rotating on the offensive line, and Nick Clark finally was able to compete. Finally got cleared a few games ago, but he had to kind of get into playing shape and get in the mix of things. And out of necessity, he's started on the offensive line the last couple games and has done a wonderful job. So kudos to Nick, and I'm glad he got that opportunity because he hurt his knee on the very last play last season, and it's been a struggle for him to get back. I mean, just watching him walk down the hall, he's limping and everything, so it was very tough. But Nick went out there and competed at a high level against some really good competition.
And you came back and scored in that third quarter. It was 21-7 in the third quarter.
Yeah,
go ahead. He and I were talking, whoa, hey, And I thought at that time, too, that Logansport was kind of down. I mean, I don't know. And our guys were just, the enthusiasm, what I call it, the Rita Boo enthusiasm, was really on Wawasee's team.
Well, we've been in that situation before, and our kids, don't quit. Our kids, came out and when we tell them something, they believe it, and so they came out with the right attitude, and we couldn't script it any better. I think Logansport, thinking they were up 21-0, kind of.
This team's 1-8. They're going to fold over.
Yeah,
it's an easy
I think they thought we were going to fold, and our halftime adjustments were revealed right away, and so. we start with the opening kickoff, and Hunter, who was, is a kid that we'll talk to today, had a great return, put us in great field position at I think it was the 45. So we start off with great field position, and we came out in the tee and just pounded it right down the field and scored. And so now it's 21-7, and we bloop kicked, and it was a pretty good kick, but unfortunately it slipped out of bounds. So they get the ball at the 35. And the very first play, we force a fumble. And boom, we have the ball right around the 35, and here we go again, and we put a score on the board at that point. It's 21-14 or 21-10, and we got Big Mo our way. And so we couldn't script the beginning of the second half any better. But unfortunately, we were not able to capitalize on that. And, I think that's kind of where – we hit a bump in the road, where, oh, man, we missed an opportunity. Instead of it's like, we got these guys in the ropes, let's keep it pressure on them. I think we just kind of, and that's something that, even the kids recognize it, that we got to overcome those things. And that mentality's got to be attack, and not, be, whoa, this didn't work out. Now we're done. That's not the case. And so, unfortunately, that was how it turned about.
Coach, I would like to go back real quick to the injury conversation we just had a little bit ago, and I think we talked about this before. Larger numbers in the middle school program, larger numbers in the Pee Wee program, larger numbers on the varsity and freshman teams. How is those that building that culture and getting more kids out? How does that play into deep sectional and deep tournament runs?
Well, first of all, you can play freshman, JV, varsity. You can play on 3 levels, and that's hugely important in kids' development. Playing for a whole season, whether it's on the freshman level, JV level, varsity level, these kids talked about experience on the varsity field and how much that helps and what a transition that is. So having enough kids to play on all 3 levels is crucial. Second part is when you have injuries, and you're going to have them, or you have sickness, which we've had I don't know if it's COVID reaction or what, but we've had lots of sickness this year, a lot of respiratory stuff, a lot of flu stuff, and I don't know if wearing masks during that time has caused that or what, but we had an extraordinary amount of sickness, and kids try to push through it. And, if you've been sick for a couple of days, you're still not right.
You're right.
And so we've had to mix and match, and that's probably the thing that gets overlooked quite a bit is the mixing and matching on the offensive line. I would like to go back and look and see how many different combinations we had to go with, and that was an area we were already thin with. And then, we talked about Peyton Sewell having to step up, and going into the season, you have a team that you think you're going to get back, and, we were missing a few kids, things like that. So those are guys that we were heavily dependent on, and you take them out of the mix. Now all of a sudden, we got to go look somewhere else, and kids got to develop faster. And having to play a sophomore is tough. It's tough on them because of the transition from freshman to varsity. And then the other part is, the speed of the game and asking them to perform at a high level like that is very, very difficult. And so, that makes it tough. It makes it tough for kids, and it makes it tough overall. So increased numbers definitely helps. And if they work together for 4 years, you got a bunch of 4-year players at the senior level, and you got a chance to do some things. You look at any successful team, I guarantee you they have a strong senior class with plenty of seniors in it.
Well, Coach, I was just thinking of that too. You have to have a program that is built. And how difficult now is it to keep these kids involved in football?
Oh.
I mean, I want to tell you just a quick story. He was on the air before. This little kid, probably 2nd or 3rd grade, was playing pass with his dad at the end of the game. We were walking out. And I said, oh, my gosh. I said, you're going to play football? And because the passes were good. He said, no. He says, my mom doesn't want me to. And I looked at his dad, and I thought, whoa. And that's become quite a thing now.
Yeah, it's a lot of different things. Unfortunately, a few years ago with the exposing of the CTE, brain injury from NFL guys, concussion, the movie, and you know how media goes. And so people got very scared, I think. And that's kind of come down a little bit. But, that was one thing that hurt numbers, and that was across the board. And I think people realize now that, things are in place now. It's not the same as it used to be back in the day where they give you smelling salts and put you right back in. And, we have trainers that evaluate you. You have a pre-evaluation and a late evaluation. You have, better equipment. You don't teach kids the same way. I mean, when I played, guys speared each other all the time. That's out of the game. You're penalized and you can be thrown out of the game. There was a targeting call last night. And so everything from the rules of the game to equipment to medical evaluation is all much improved and to keep kids out of that harm's way. And so, unfortunately, some of that's carried over, and it's usually the moms, unfortunately. You're looking out for their baby, and I get it. I understand. But we've gone through, not only us, but the whole IHSAA and everybody across the football world has gone through extensive changes to make the game a safer game. It's a physical game. That's the way it is. And you got a lot of that physicality to play football.
Right.
And then you got the other variables. You got other options, unfortunately, the technological world of phones and computer games and things like that.
And then look at all the other sports you can do. What is it? You got soccer now that competes with football. You've got other stuff that the kids are wanting to do. I'm not going to do football. Do you have any problems with holding your kids here at Wawasee and making sure that they stay in the program?
A little bit, not drastically, and that's something that we're definitely is a goal too, is keep kids in the program for 4 years. Even 1 year out is a whole year of experience that you lose. And so, trying to get kids to be, and we promote this too, 3-sport athletes. Play as much as you can, as long as you can, until somebody tells you can't play. Because that window of athleticism goes away when you get older, and
tell me about it.
And you get to the point where you can't play at the next level. And so get all you can out of it. And sports gives you so many great experiences and so many life lessons. I'm going to tell our kids, if you're not in a sport, wrestle. If you don't have a spring sport, we want you running track, because that's a universal thing that's going to make you faster. It's going to keep you in shape, those kind of things. So, if they're a baseball player, basketball player, whatever they are, go compete, because being a part of a team and having somebody, this is what you need to do. This is the goal you need to get to, and this is what we're trying to do. Competition makes you better, and that's what we want here at Wawasee is 3-sport athletes and kids that go out there and compete all the time.
Okay, well, when we come back from our break, we'll be talking to 4 of our junior players. You're listening to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. We have our first 2 segments have been the football game from the sectional, and now we have 4 of our juniors present with us. Coach, take it away.
All right, we have Donovan Blair. Donovan plays tight end and defensive end for us. We have Derek Bontrager. He's a receiver, kind of a jack of all trades, I guess. We've had him at quarterback at times and even in the backfield, and he also plays safety. And we have Brandon Kelly. He's linebacker, running back, and Hunter Tinkey. Hunter's a receiver and corner, and he's also been in the backfield a few times as well. So, Donovan, let's start with you since you're immediately to my left here. Talk a little bit about last night. You had a couple big catches. You had a nice big rumble there down the field, and been a bigger part of the passing game as the season has gone along.
Yeah, I had a couple catches last night. I dropped one, but it happens, I guess. But the one I had a good 36-yard catch and run down the field. I broke 4 tackles, and I just didn't want to stop going. I was trying to play for the seniors and get the win.
Yeah, that was a big play. you weren't able to play last year, and so this is your first year back since your freshman year. So talk a little bit about how this year went and what you thought of the season and your progression.
Yeah, it was my first varsity season at all because I didn't get to play last year. And at the beginning of the season, I was nervous about getting the varsity spot. And then as the season went on, I trusted myself more, and it all came back, and I was able to play pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, definitely an important addition to the team. Derek, why don't you swing in here? Derek plays safety and receiver, and Derek, you had a big play last night. We were able to get you on. I'll let you just go ahead and explain the play and what happened in that sequence because it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, we were at the 50-yard line, or was it I can't remember what specific yard line it was, but had a deep pass. I was wide open. Ran in for a touchdown. Yeah,
go route. I think Coach O kind of added that to you just to run a go and had some heavy pressure. Shoemaker, I think, threw it off of 1 foot, but you were wide open and you were able to run it down the sideline for a touchdown. Derek, this is your first year as a full-time varsity starter, so talk a little bit about your season and the progression and how that went for you.
Yeah, like you said, it was the first year varsity, or a full-time varsity. So it's just been a lot of pressure and a lot of just happy to be there and to see what I can do. And then
you're a competitor. You like to compete, and so I mean, it's whether it's practice or a game, you're always out there competing, and you learned a lot this year, didn't you?
Yeah.
From many aspects of the game. So much so that we even repped you a few times at quarterback to, get a little speed back there, a little athleticism back there. So, hopefully you take everything you learned this year, and next year you have an even bigger year. Mm-hmm. Okay, Brandon Kelly, I'm going to have you go ahead and lean up here and talk a little bit. Brandon actually got thrown in the mix last year a little bit as a sophomore out of necessity. We had some injuries and things like that. And so that was kind of tough as a sophomore. And I think he learned last year that, oh, wow, this is a little bit different than playing on our level. Talk about a little bit about that, Brandon.
Yeah. I kind of dominated freshman year, and then they threw me in there sophomore year. Thought I'd do the same thing. It's a whole different ball game, different paces.
Game's faster, guys are bigger.
Faster, a whole lot bigger dudes, especially them linemen up front, man. I'll tell you what, they're no joke.
Yeah. So, Brandon, this year, you're a starter on both sides of the ball. Talk a little bit about that and things that you learned and things that were tough and kind of expand on your season.
Yeah, going both sides of the ball is exhausting, but I wanted to win. Just like your seniors, I wanted to win for our seniors. We kept fighting all the way through the season. It was a tough season. Wawasee never has an easy schedule at the NLC, so we just kept fighting. We never gave up in any game.
Yeah, that's good. NLC record. There's a lot of teams that are tough in the NLC, and then our out of conference record. Tippy Valley had one loss in the season, and West Noble, vying for a conference championship and favored in their sectional. And then we go down to Logansport, and they're 8-2 right now. So we play a high level of competition all throughout. All right, Hunter, we're going to go ahead.
Real quick, being a engineer here, I had to look into the actual data behind it. And if you looked at Logansport season versus our season, the opponents that Wawasee played was over 70% winning percentage.
Correct.
The opponents that Logansport played was over 30% winning percentage.
Yep.
So very hard competition.
Well, we talked about that, and we talked about the competition that we go against during the season helps us prepare for the off season, in the sectional play. We do have a couple conference teams in our sectional, but as far as going against Logansport, we emphasize, this isn't Mishawaka, this isn't Northwood. These aren't teams that we've gone against that we've, struggled a little bit with. We can play with these guys, and I think the guys had the right mentality going into this, what that was going to be. All right, Hunter, we're going to bring you in. You had a couple good returns, kickoff returns, and some nice runs last night. Talk a little bit about some of those things that happened last night.
Yeah, the run. The nice run I had, it was just a good. I put my foot in the ground, and he. I don't know.
Made a couple moves, and you got vertical, and boom. Mm-hmm. All right, good. Kickoff return. You had a couple that were pretty good.
Had a couple that were decent. The one was just, saw the outside was wide open, so I just cut it over. But I also fumbled last night on a kickoff return.
We won't talk about that one.
Only
I
positives.
actually think that was initiated by one of your teammates. So unfortunately, when you're trying to get a block, sometimes you get in somebody's way and you have a collision like that. So, Hunter, again, you were thrown in the mix last year as a sophomore quite a bit, and that was kind of tough. So what's the difference between last year and this year for you?
Last year was it was a year for me to experience varsity and learn from it because it is a big difference from freshman to varsity.
Yep.
And not playing JV.
Right.
So
Did you feel like things were easier? You recognized things? The experience from last year helped you this year?
Yeah, it was a big difference from last year to this year. Like, I knew what I was doing this year, and I was prepared, and I knew what I was expecting.
All these guys in the off season did great work in the weight room to prepare their bodies and to get ready. Coach Glon does a great job getting these guys ready in strength training, and I know they all continue to do that. Strength training helps all our athletes get better, but these guys have put the work in, and it shows. We relied heavily on their play this season, along with the seniors, and these guys mentioned the seniors. I think that's great that there's that relationship between the seniors and the juniors. That they wanted to play well last night. Help the seniors try to extend the season even more. So. Go ahead, Cass.
Well, Coach, I was just wondering, we'll go through these guys again. Blair, Bontrager, Kelly, and Tinky. We've called their names, a million times over the course of the year. But what are they going to do this summer? And I want to know if they're going to go and do any more athletics the rest of this year.
Yeah. So first of all, Donovan, I know what you do, but you want to tell everybody what other sports you do?
During the winter, I do wrestling, and our wrestling team's pretty good, And then that's the only other sport I do.
Was last year your first year in wrestling?
It was my first high school year in wrestling. I've wrestled like 8 years in my life.
Okay, so in the younger years, and then it was the first year that you actually got into high school wrestling. It was a pretty good year, wasn't it, for you last year?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I had a winning record. I was like 24-11. I didn't end up where I wanted to be. I lost at regionals. I just wrestled bad there, but yeah, it was a pretty good season.
Talk a little bit about how football and wrestling work together.
Oh, the conditioning for wrestling helps me with football, and then football just helps me get into shape for wrestling, and they both work together to help me get better at both.
Good. Derek, why don't you step on up here, and what do you do outside of football?
Last year I actually ran track, ran hurdles, but I'm planning on playing baseball this year. I guess we'll see how that goes.
Okay, Brandon?
I'm not a multi-sport athlete anymore. They encourage me to do track because it'll get me faster. I probably should do it. I get in the weight room. I like to lift weights. I don't like to run very much, but I probably should.
Yep.
That's what the short runs are for.
Yeah.
Sprints.
That sounds a lot more like a lineman than it does a running back.
It does. I used to be a lineman.
Back when you had to have a stripe on your helmet?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Hunter, what about you?
Yeah, all I just do track in the off season, and like to hit the weights.
Okay.
The gym is where I live.
Oh, yeah. Now, what's your summer look like? When you go to summertime, I know what it looks like, but what does your summer look like for you?
Not a lot of free time. In the morning we wake up super early for football conditioning and practice, and then the rest of the day we do what we want. I do what I want for the most part. I either go hang out with friends or I go lift or something.
Okay, Derek.
Yeah, like you said, we do football in the morning, I usually go to work after that.
Where do you work at, by the way?
I've had multiple jobs, but last summer I worked with my dad. We do roofing.
Oh, wow. That's tough work, especially in the summertime when it's hot.
Yeah.
All right, good. And Brandon, what's your summer look like?
They mentioned morning practices, but we also go to a lot of camps and whatnot. We do a lot of other things.
7 on 7, 11
yep.
on 11.
Yep. To get us experience before the season even starts. So, yeah.
Keeps you busy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And Hunter?
What's the question?
It's early, Coach.
What does your summer look like?
My summer?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they said, all the football stuff. You know, I go to work, and then I just go to the gym, and then
Where are you working at?
I work at Elmo's. It's in Lassus, North Webster.
Yeah. Do you wait on people? You stock shelves? What do you do there?
No, I just make food.
Make food. Oh, what do you make?
I make all kinds of food, like subs, burgers, pizzas.
It's a good stuff?
It's not bad.
Not bad? You're supposed to promote it, man.
I know.
What is something you guys have talked about the step between sophomore and junior year? What's the step between junior year and senior year going to look like for you guys?
That's anybody's question, so just step up when you got an answer.
Well, for me, since I didn't play sophomore or junior year, it's like I had to learn all the experience that they learned their sophomore year. I had to learn it this year. So next senior year, I'm gonna be able to use that experience and help us hopefully win some more games.
Yep.
Hey, what weight class are you? I was just kind of interested.
I'm 195.
195. Wow. Well, I outweigh you, so if you need a little more practice, I mean, at 5'6" and over 200. So let me know. I'll be glad to pin you down sometime.
Okay, I will.
Kaz, that might be, you might get sued for hurting the elderly or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Wound up at a home for the elderly.
Derek, go ahead.
I don't really think about this, but from my junior to senior year, I just want to help this football program just become a better team and be more successful than we've been in the past years.
Good.
Great answer.
My junior year to senior year, I'm expecting a lot out of myself. I want to come in and dominate. I wasn't able to do as much as I wanted to do this year. I was in my head a lot, so next year I want to be able to bring home some more wins.
There you go. Hunter?
Yeah, my junior to senior year, I'm hoping for a lot more improvement from this year. You know, I didn't play like I wanted to this year, but my senior year, I'm expecting a lot more out of myself.
Okay, guys, I'm going to give you a coach question. What do we got to do differently for next season that we didn't, maybe help us get to that next step? Because, we've taken a big step. The seniors really established, play for 4 quarters, and you guys did that. Be physical. I mean, every game we played, there was guys limping off the field and guys on the ground, and they knew when they played us. But we weren't quite able to turn the corner on wins and losses. What do you think is going to help us get more wins? Just a random question.
I think as a team, we all need better mentalities. Like usually, like when one bad thing goes like wrong, like not everybody will keep their head high. If everybody keeps their head high and we can keep the momentum going, then I think it will be a better team.
Good, Derek.
I think if we all focus on what our job is and do what our 1-11, then I do think that we could be a better team, and that if we all focus up and do what coaches tell us to do, and
Good.
I think we can be a lot better team.
Hunter, Brandon, you guys want to kick in?
I think if we all buy in to the same goal, we'll have better results. We can't have players who don't really care with players who care too much. It doesn't mix well. We just all need to buy in, ramp things up in practice, not be soft on each other, push each other.
Good. Hunter?
I think they said it all.
Oh, well put. The easy way out there. Hey, these guys are a big part of the future, and we owe a lot to those seniors. They were great leaders by example. We did take a step forward. It may not show up in wins and losses, but the way we played the game, we were, very competitive all season long, and we played for 4 quarters. We were physical. Those are some of the goals we had for this season, and now it's time to take it to the next level and win some more games this next season.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming in today. We will be back with more Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com. Welcome back to Coach's Corner. We just finished up our last segment with the 4 juniors. Now let's finish up our wrap-up of the game and continue on for what we're going from here.
Yeah, so we were talking to the juniors, and then offline we were discussing. We go, oh goodness, did we finish the game in section 2?
That's right. Yeah.
So that now we'll take you back to Logan Sport here. So 21-7 turnover by Logan Sport. You get the ball. You didn't quite crest that hill. Turnover on downs. Logan Sport gets the ball. How do you handle that as a coach and as a sideline there?
Well, you're trying to keep the kids up that, hey, keep attacking, keep pushing, keep pressing. We had momentum, and you got to push through. I think there was a feeling amongst the kids that, we missed an opportunity, and we can't be that way. It's, hey, we got them on the ropes. Let's keep them on the ropes and keep attacking and keep creating.
Keep those body blows coming.
Yes. Keep the pressure on them and put the pressure on them to keep the lead. And, we got a little bit of momentum, and we've shown that we can physically just pound the rock down the field. And unfortunately, we weren't able to do that. And we had a lapse in coverage, and part of that's timely play calling, but lapse in coverage, and give up a big touchdown to the tight end, and that hurts. And then we give up another late score after a turnover deep in our territory. So the scenario is they score, they kick off to us, and we fumble. And we had a penalty and a fumble on the same kickoff return, and gave them a very, very short field, and they were able to score off of that. So then that made it 35-7. And then we go back to work, and we're able to get something going. We get a long pass to Derek Bontrager. He's able to haul it in and score, and then we go to onside mode and try to onside it, and unfortunately it didn't come off the tee exactly like we wanted to, and so they got the ball at midfield, and they were able to run out the clock.
So, Coach, we've talked about Warrior Grit on this. We've talked about culture, the kind of change from year over year. You can see that progression. How does the fight there, even down 35-14, 27-7, there was still fight in your boys. How does that translate to next year?
Building a culture it's not as quick. We live in a fast food world. We were talking off radio about Notre Dame's situation and how there's, people wanting
fire sale.
Clean them all out, get rid of them. And that's not how it works. And when you have a program that's, let's be honest, struggled for several years, you got to rebuild that culture, and that goes all the way down. It's going to take some time for you to see some of those changes, and so you go from Pee-wee to middle school to high school, and I think the casual observer just looks at the record, and the person that's really looking at what kind of team we put on the field. This year's team was very different than last year's team, and so this year's team, I think what you could see is physicality. We were very physical with teams, and that's something that kind of lacked in the past. And the second thing is we fought all the way through 4 quarters. We never gave up, and you had that effort and that perseverance, which are life lessons. So those are some changes you're seeing, and we're putting better athletes on the field, and that's part of strength training. That's part of kids developing in the program for so many years. You play faster when you know what you're doing. And so, getting that experience and getting kids better athletes, that's going to be a combination that's going to work out to eventually more wins.
And, Coach, I think you've done a super, super job of influencing these kids. And when these kids came in to be interviewed, the positive aspect that they have and the way they look out after each other, I mean, those are huge life lessons.
Oh, giant. And it's you have to give credit to our assistant coaches too. It's not me by myself. Absolutely not. Our assistant coaches put in a lot of time and work hard and teaching those life lessons as well. But it is awesome to hear kids regurgitate things that you've been preaching to them all season long. Every one of those kids said something that we have been talking about. We've been telling them. And so once, hearing the message and saying the message and then, buying into it, one of them talked about buy-in to what we need to do. And once you get guys on the same page with the same goal in mind, I mean, you can accomplish a lot of great things.
And one thing that I noticed too is, they all have, their personal reasons of why they want to get better, why they want, to be a better defensive end, a better quarterback, a better wide receiver. But every single one of them talked about the team, about being a better team. And that's something that, I've been a part of teams that have done that. And I've been a part of teams that, it's eye for eye and everyone for themselves.
I'm going to get mine.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's selfish, and you can't win. It's a
you
team
can't build
sport.
a program that way.
No, and football is one of the greatest team sports because it takes 11 guys. I mean, number one, the numbers on the field, and number two, I've always talked about offense being like a choreographed dance that, everybody's got to be doing their job or you could have, epic failure. And defensively, too, everybody's got to do their job. And it takes so many people and so many contributions. And, if you have a team and everybody's on the same page, that's where you have success.
And one thing, too, we were talking about, injuries on the line earlier, but that whole thing, with a wide receiver, if you have an all-star wide receiver, you can put him out there and he can make you plays. If you have an all-star lineman, you're probably going to run behind him, but you still have to have all 5 linemen in step and know exactly what the other one's doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you have those injuries or sickness and you got to replace, line is also a continuity thing. Guys trusting each other, understanding what the other's
and
thinking.
trusting their eyes.
Yeah, and so and the timing. You got polls and you got things like that guys, that work together, they get that down. And then you have to mix and match and do other things. That disrupts the timing a little bit too. And so, those are things that we're working through and trying to build depth and get kids experience and development that's a smoother transition.
Coach, what are you going to do as a head coach to get ready for next season as far as all? That's got to be a huge task that nobody, unless you're in the business, realizes the amount of time that you're going to have to put in.
It doesn't free up for a little while yet.
No.
I was just talking about, some people think, you're done. You don't have to do anything. You have all this free time after school. Well, no, we have equipment turn in. We have to do inventory, things that we're going to need for next year and what we have now and going through that. We have awards program. We have to figure out awards and, who letters and all that stuff. And then we have, our off-season duties.
I want to hear that. Talk about that because that's huge now.
Concessions, we got a couple games that we're responsible for. Basketball concessions. We're going to help out the gymnastics team set up their equipment because they have massive amounts of equipment and the girls need help, and so we help out with things like that out of season. Then you have your out of season opportunities and limited contact for those that are not in the sport. Although my preference is that every kid's in another sport. Those that aren't, we're going to try to help them get better, make sure that they're, just not doing anything. And of course, strength training is huge. We want all our football players in strength training, getting, use the quote, bigger, faster, stronger, better athletes. And so year-round training in the weight room, which you can take as a class, which is greatly helpful. And then we got a good one in there doing that, and that's Connor Galan, who's one of our coaches as well. So strength training, ideally competing in another sport, and if you're not, then some limited contact practices or workouts, things like that. And so that's all a part of it. And then towards the end of the spring, we'll start putting things together, call out meetings, schedules, limited contact period again. Starting to piece things together and get things ready to go. So it's a year-round job. It's not something that, the season's over, you just throw the equipment in a shed and you're done. There's a lot of off-season. We're going to have exit interviews with every kid. We're going to talk to every kid, about their season and about where they are going next. And, there's a lot to do yet.
What about summer camps? That never used to be the thing back in my, but now in all the sports, you've got, summer camps and this and summer camps in football are becoming a huge thing now.
Yeah,
What do you think about those? Yeah,
it's very controlled with football. Football's out ahead of a lot of sports in that aspect that you have 12 practice opportunities you have in a summer, and 5 of them can be competition days where you're going against another school. There's no full pad work ever, in the summertime. And you have, so we went to Manchester camp for 3 days, which has been greatly beneficial for us. And we had a couple 11-on-11 competitions, one at Bremen, one we hosted, very beneficial, where we can test our wares out against another team. And then we went down to a big 7-on-7 tournament at Ball State early in the summer. So every one of those experiences helps your kids develop, helps your kids compete in the summertime and start to reveal, who's going to be able to do what and help us evaluate kids. And then we would have practices on Thursdays a lot of time. And again, chances to evaluate kids, chances to develop kids, chances to install things that we're going to do. And summertime is hugely important to us, probably more than any other sport, just because of all the moving parts. And so, we got kids that are multi-sport athletes. So some of those kids got to go to baseball, and some of those kids go to basketball, and we have to share that and understand that, and you got different things going on in the summertime and trying to get kids as many opportunities as you can, but that's all a part of it.
What do the kids think about that? What do the kids, as far as trying to pick which summer camp and you encourage them to go to these summer camps? How do the kids feel about doing this stuff in the summer?
It's not like a summer camp that they just go off to, although there's a couple kids that go to some of those prospect camps here and there. The camp I'm talking about, Manchester, that's team camp. We take our whole team there, and you compete against other schools while you're there. And so, it's a busy summer, but I also keep in mind I'm trying to give them a summer too. Yeah. And so our workouts are very early in the morning. They're planned so kids can still go to work. They can still have the rest of their summer day. Some of them have to go to summer school, so they would be able to get to summer school because our workouts are early. The heat of the day. I mean, there's a lot of thought that goes into that, and so we work out early. And then,
and that kind of gets them ready for life, too.
It does. You get up for a job, get them started on their day. And so, that staying up super late, they can't do that when they got workouts. And we emphasize that's important, mentally and commitment-wise and all that. So a lot of thought goes into that. And then making sure we have great experiences for the kids. They're going to help us become a better team in the off season. So that's all a part of it. But, keeping kids active and busy is an important thing, but also allowing them to have some of their summer. That's also important. That's why you have moratorium week. That's why we don't do anything over the weekends in the summertime. So they usually have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And they have, once their workout's over on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they don't have anything else the rest of the day. And then, Thursdays, a lot of times are practice days, so they might have a double on a Thursday. That's it. So that's what we're looking at.
Okay. Well, I want to take a minute just to thank Nathan and Kaz for calling all the games this year. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem.
Thank you for having Nathan.
Yeah, I appreciate that we have this platform, to promote Wawasee athletics and to give kids experience in the radio and TV world. What a unique experience for kids at Wawasee High School to get.
Yes, it is.
And thank you, Phil, for filling in, so to speak. Kaz probably likes that
I
one.
was going to say, Kaz is smiling ear to ear right now.
And Jeremy, it takes a lot of work and coming in early in the morning and having to sit down and talking and operating all the controls. I really appreciate you guys and the program you put out and helping us promote Wawasee football, particularly, but all Wawasee
Also
sports.
want to thank you and your assistant coaches for everything you do for the team and the kids and throughout the year. So appreciate that.
Well, hey, I just want to say one thing. I think you do a better job than Jeremy. And you can delete that. You can delete that
Here
if
we
you
go.
want. You do a great
Here
job.
we go.
Thanks for coming in.
Way to stir the pot there, Kaz.
All right. Well, you've been listening to Coach's Corner on 93.7 FM The Mix and 937themix.com.